Alrighty, so on that note, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today for the next installment in our Hour with the Experts series. I am Tara Kelly. I am one of your patent consultants. I work out of the East Office in Malvern, and I'm here today with my colleague, Dr. Jennifer Craig.
Hi, everyone. Like Tara said, I'm out of the I'm out of the Pittsburgh office, and I am one of the educational consultants for deaf, hard of hearing, and deaf blind, and a few other things. So welcome.
Okay. And apparently I have folks who are saying that they cannot see the interpreter. Are you able to see the interpreter now? Okay. Are you also able to see the speaker? Okay, great. Okay. And then I think what we will do is Jen and I will probably just take turns speaking. And then when we are not speaking, we will probably shut our video off to make it easier for people to see just the interpreter and the person who is speaking. Okay, so with that said, we are going to get rolling because we do want to be respectful of your time. So as always, the mission of Patent is to support the efforts and initiatives of the Bureau of Special Education and to build the capacity of our local education agencies who serve our students who receive special education services in our state. And our goal for each of our students is to ensure that their individualized education program teams start with the least restrictive environment that meets their needs with the use of supplementary aids and services before considering a more restrictive setting. Oop, one too far. And also we have a commitment to family engagement because we want to promote equitable partnerships among schools, families, and communities to actively advance our student achievements through shared commitment, decision-making, and responsibility. And for anybody who has not seen this quote before from Karen Mapp, her advice is that we see our families and community members as co-creators and co-producers of excellent schools and learning opportunities that we want for all of our students. And today, that is actually the topic of our conversation, is really enhancing our learning opportunities for our deaf and hard of hearing students. So the agenda for today, we're going to briefly touch on the importance of enrichment. And as we know, enrichment really benefits all students, but why is this so critically important for our deaf and hard of hearing students? Then we're going to break these enrichment opportunities down into some component areas. Okay, I'm sorry. So 1 second, I'm seeing that there are folks who are having difficulty seeing both the interpreter and the speaker, apparently. Okay, and folks, also you may want to change your view to gallery view. In a webinar, you will not see anybody else besides the interpreter and the speaker who has their camera on. You will not see any participants in a webinar, so it is okay to change to gallery view. Okay, thank you for that feedback, attendees. We appreciate it. So then we're going to break down our opportunities for enrichment into component areas. So we're going to be looking at social and summer opportunities, career exploration experiences, and then virtual field trips and some of the planning considerations that are involved with those. And then at the end, we'll have a takeaway document for all of you to take with you, and you'll also have access to this presentation. Many of the things we're going to be talking about are hyperlinked in this presentation today, so you will be able to just click on things when you have access to this, and you'll be able to go back to all of the resources that we'll be talking about. And then finally, we'll have some time for questions. Okay. So first things first, as we were just saying, we know that enrichment really has a variety of benefits for really all students. And then there are some benefits that are very specific to our unique population of deaf and hard of hearing students. So we know when it comes to our students, enrichment opportunities really provide increased opportunities for language development. They are a terrific way to expand and extend our students' vocabulary, to get them interacting with peers and adults in a variety of settings. And, really that's important outside of a classroom, because we want to make sure that they're able to generalize skills and start applying their skills in a variety of settings, not just in the classroom or in the school. And then also we want to give them those life experiences that can expand their conversational repertoire, really expand their conversational topics. The more background experience they have, the more things that we'll be able to activate their prior knowledge about. So it's very important to be able to be giving more opportunity for that. We want to enhance multimodal learning. Looking at pictures and reading about things is great, but really we want to be enhancing and really just finding ways to add more meaning for our students. So for them, it could be watching whether it's videos of things happening, but hopefully actually doing whenever possible. So whether it's going on a tour of something through augmented reality, or perhaps participating in something through gamification, or, when it's not COVID time, hopefully being able to do something in person, that's going to have a tremendous impact on how well and how much our students can learn. We know for our students, enrichment can often mean having increased access to peers and adults who are deaf and hard of hearing themselves, and having access to role models. And those types of increased social opportunities are so important. It's critical for our students' well-being, for their self-identity, their self-concept, and really making sure that they have a way to have that connection for people who have that shared experience. Also, the exploration of what's possible. If kids don't know what's out there, they're not sure what's available, it can be difficult for them to conceive of what's possible for their lives and their futures. And currently, in our contemporary culture, we hear the phrase representation matters frequently. And that's very true for our deaf and hard of hearing students as well. We want them to be able to meet and learn from older students and from deaf and hard of hearing adults who are pursuing a variety of paths out in the world, so that they can see the range of everything that is out there, and be able to even dream of things that haven't been done yet. And the important thing is that they constantly get the message and reinforcement that deaf people can do things, and that there are not limitations placed on them. And then one of the biggest value added pieces of enrichment is the authentic experience piece. Having students get those opportunities to utilize their skills in authentic settings, where they have to advocate for themselves, and begin to piece together the types of skill sets and tools that they will need to be able to get out there, whether it's for post-secondary training or education, or whether it's to start transitioning into the world of work for things that they're interested in. But, it's really going to be an invaluable experience for them to have access to that sooner rather than later, right? We know for our students, we don't want to wait till they're 14 to start that process. So the sooner the better. If we can get that going in elementary school, that's terrific. But definitely as soon as we can, we want to provide those enrichment experiences in authentic settings. So getting them connected, whether it's through mentoring, whether it's through having experiences out in the community. During COVID time, it's been very difficult to get kids connected, but there are some exciting opportunities coming up, and we're going to be talking about some of those today. And over to Jen.
Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is why is this critically important for our deaf and hard of hearing students? I want to give you a minute to go ahead and read the slide. Just to give you a minute. So restricted language and communication access are missed opportunities for incidental learning. And we know this can negatively affect the student's ability to gain knowledge and life skills necessary to make appropriate decisions about his or her employment, post-secondary education, and daily living needs. And this comes from the Optimizing Outcomes for Students Who Are Deaf and Hard of Hearing Educational Service Guidelines from the National Association of State Directors of Special Education. It's the big purple book. If you haven't seen it, it's really, really full of a lot of great stuff. And then one of the things that we recognize as that's why enrichment is so beneficial to all students, but we also know that these types of experiences can be make or break for our students, right? The chance to interact with peers and role models, to have authentic experiences both visually and viscerally across these different settings can help fill some of the gaps that they may have as deaf and hard of hearing students when they have restricted language access and they miss incidental learning opportunities, and it really can reduce the negative impact of those gaps when we provide these enrichment opportunities. So as you can see, this quote really captures this well. And again, it comes from the Purple Book. So please look for Optimizing Outcomes. This is a really good book to download and keep as a reference. And we often say in our field, it really is important for us to keep repeating this, that we must make incidental intentional for our students. So we have to do things purposefully. So now what I'm going to talk about are the summer and social opportunities that we're going to look at. One of the really great websites that I found, it's a sign-on platform. It's called Friends Like Me, and it's a live link on here. It promotes social language. It gives students an opportunity for peer-to-peer companionship in a small group. And the other nice thing about this group online is it provides the guidance of a deaf, hard of hearing adult mentor. So the kids are in a group with an adult deaf or hard of hearing mentor where they can have discussions about anything they want to talk about. And it really gives them a good opportunity to practice social language. Another great resource that you may want to sign up for, Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. They have a newsletter that comes out monthly, and this is the link right here that you can click on to sign up for that. It has family engagement activities. It has continuing education activities. It may have things that are happening in the community around Philadelphia, so it's a really good resource that you could share with your families and other educators, anyone who might be interested. On the other side of the state at UPMC Children's Hospital and Hearing Center, they have started virtual parent drop-ins. And this is a way for families to connect with other families so they can share stories, find ways to support each other. Jessica Lambert is the educational liaison in the Hearing Center who provides a great resource for families when they have questions about their child's IEP, about accommodations, about services that their student may need in school that maybe they don't even know what to ask for. So she's a great resource for families when they're getting into this journey of education with their deaf or hard of hearing student, of how to acquire things they may need for their student. And on here, I put the web link. So Monday, February 22nd, which is next week at 6 p.m. If you want to share this one with any of your families, there's the Zoom link to join. And then if that's not a good time, they have a second one that will be February 23rd at noon. So if you want to share that out, anybody who needs it, they're welcome to join. Next slide, Tara. Okay, so the next thing we wanted to bring your attention to are our deaf and hard of hearing, the summer camps list. This is just a short list of possible summer camps. I'm sure if you spend some more time searching the web, you'll find more and more opportunities, summer camp opportunities. Supporting success for students with hearing loss camp list. So if you go to that website, there's a big list. ASDC also has a big camp list, American Society for Deaf Children. And then last on our short list is Hands and Voices camp list. So those are three great links to connect you to different summer camps for students with hearing loss. This is my favorite. So this Barnyard Friends is offered out of the Scranton School for Deaf and Hard of Hearing. And this was created by Marianne Stefko, who's been in the field for over 30 years. She's currently working in early intervention, But this is based on the 4-H model. And I don't know if you all are familiar with that, but what that is, 4-H is, they basically have, let me see, head, heart, health, and hands. And what this program does, it kind of adapts the curriculum for our students, and the program works on language skills, social skills, leadership, technology, and community service. So this is a great program. If you're interested in having your kids participate in this, they do a lot of things virtually. You can reach out to Scranton School for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing and ask them to get you in contact with Marianne Stefko, and I'm sure she would be happy to get your students involved in this program. Okay, Tara? All right, we're going to show you a short video, Leadership Opportunity for Teens. This is the LOFT program through AG Bell. Tara, you want to hit it?
Good job, guys. Oh, you guys got this. You never had to figure it out that fast.
I applied to LOFT out of curiosity and interest in meeting other kids my age that go through the same experiences of being deaf and hard of hearing.
Well, I think that LOFT let me be more confident in myself and kind of more accepting of who I am, and allow me to make more memories with friends that I never thought I would have met in my life, and I really made me more happy with myself.
Both of them mean a place to me where I can feel welcomed. In my home state, there's not many deaf people, the only place where you can meet other deaf people is at the Delaware School of the Deaf.
It's definitely worth the trip no matter how long it is, because when you get to LOFT, you can relate to people like you wouldn't relate to people back home.
You know, the last couple of years I've really seen a lot of the kids grow up and really get together and make connections and relationships with other kids that have hearing loss and experience a similar lifestyle they've had to experience.
My favorite experience might be when one of the lofties Skyped with us, basically telling us her experience, and she's in the audiology program. So being a deaf student in the audiology program is really cool.
It's kind of hard to choose because there were so many fun things to do. We did trapeze school, escape rooms, and we also had so many fun and challenging events.
My favorite part of LOFT this past week had to be definitely the trapeze school.
I would definitely say my favorite experience has been meeting the other 19 people that came to the session, because our deafness was such a good solid foundation for like our friendships that we just built on top of that.
It's amazing when it comes to having abilities that you know you can relate to somebody else. This is the chance to open up and be around more people like them.
Through LOFT, I plan to be more engaging in the deaf community and work on self-advocating and also teaching others.
That you should definitely go to LOFT, because I think it's definitely a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
It's been such an amazing experience. You get to go touring, you get to meet new friends, you get to tell your story, you get to be yourself and no one will judge you.
Thanks to donors like yourself that has become one of the flagship programs of AG Bell. We have had almost 500 teens graduate from this program from different parts of the country and from around the world. We have an amazing staff here at AG Bell who support the program, work with the team, and are often the major reason why these teams have this transformation that they do. The last thing I want to talk about in terms of amazing people are you folks, the donors. You people are the amazing ones who provide these kids with the air beneath their wings so that they can soar to the highest levels and achieve their dreams.
Every summer, a miracle happens at AG Bell, thanks to you. 40 teenagers arrive at the LOFT program and emerge ready to speak up for themselves and for others. You make that happen, and you've made it happen for over 500 LOFTees that have come through this program in the past 22 years. You have made the world a better place. And for that, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
Okay, so that's just a quick overview of the LOFT program, and they are trying to have this set up in the summer. They're going to have 2 sessions, hopefully, and the dates are July 24th through the 28th, or July 31st through August 4th. This is focused more towards oral deaf hard of hearing students, and we're going to show you some more things that are inclusive for signing students.
Good job, guys.
Okay, so let's move on to Gallaudet University. They have a large number of virtual programs. They have Battle with the Books. They also have the National Literacy Competition. They also have summer youth camp set up that will hopefully be in person this year. They have the Trivia Cup, Debate Bowl. They also offer the youth program webinar series and then the academic bowl. And the academic bowl, I'm pretty sure a lot of you are probably familiar with. It starts off with about 80 deaf and hard of hearing programs that are competing against each other. And it basically, they compete down to about 20 teams, and then in a non-virtual environment, they all get together and have a championship round at Gallaudet. But we'll see if that happens this year. Hopefully with the vaccines, we will all be back in person and they can do all of this in person again. So some of the summer youth programs, they have 3 sessions that are going on this summer. God Skills, Immerse into ASL. They have Deaf Youth Pride Week. They have Summer Spotlight Series, and they have Deaf Biz. And they are really focused on your middle school and high school students. And under each one on here, there is a link, I believe, on the PowerPoint that will give you that you can hook into these, but it'll tell you what is appropriate for what age student. But this is a really great opportunity for students that are around the country to get involved in some of the programs at Gallaudet University. Okay, some of the summer opportunities. We made links to all these. Discover Your Future. It's designed for deaf and hard of hearing students entering grades 10 through 12. They want to learn more about themselves, their skills, and maybe their potential careers. It's a really nice thing to do because they can also, if they're in person, you know, explore what's going on in Washington, D.C. That's a great experience too. And the in-person is going to be on hold until 2022, unfortunately. The next one is Immerse into ASL, and this is also a great opportunity for our students to really expand their ASL skills and learn more about deaf culture and deaf history. And there are also beginner and intermediate course levels that are offered, and that's going to be offered as a webinar this summer. So we look forward to that too. Bison Brainiacs, this is also a 10 to 12th grade opportunity to explore science and technology during this camp. It is a grant-funded Northrop Grumman who made it possible for all of us to provide scholarship for campers, and it's only for this camp only, and this camp is also on hold until 2022. The next one, Got Skills, is really focused on middle school leadership and sports camps. So it's really a design your own camp for deaf and hard of hearing students entering grades 7 through 9 who want to enhance team building skills, leadership, sports skills, and that will be offered this summer. So that's one that will be there. Deaf Youth Pride Camp. This is another one for grades 9 through 12 who may identify as LGBTQIA plus community and want to learn more skills to advocate for themselves. And this is also going to be offered as a webinar this summer. The next one on the list is Junior NAD Youth Leadership Camps. And it looks like there are 2 sessions for this, June 22nd to July 12th. And then the second session will be July 15th through the 4th. Let me see if I have some more information on that camp. Okay, so basically what the Junior NAD Youth Leadership Camp does, it's for 7th through 12th grade students, and it's an opportunity for them to develop leadership skills, demonstrate citizenship, and meet and interact with other students from different states and schools. It's really helping them with job interview skills, how to prepare for future interviews. They also, one of the things that kind of happens through these interviews, they have real employers there doing the interviews, and they set up the mock situation. And a lot of times, if the student is exceptional through the interview process, the employer sometimes hires them right there on the spot. So it's something that your students might be really interested in getting involved in. Tara. Career exploration experiences. I believe I'm going to hand this off to Tara again.
Yes, you are. Thanks, Jen. Okay, so hopefully we have now figured out our spotlight feature in our webinar. So hopefully you can still see both the interpreter and myself. So now we are moving on over to our career exploration experiences. And one of the really exciting things that is coming up from Junior NAD is happening at the beginning of March as part of the celebration of National Deaf Youth Day. And I'm sure most of you are already aware, but for anybody who is not, this is the annual celebration of our young deaf and hard of hearing students. Basically, it's just a time to celebrate deaf identity and the celebration of development of deaf identity and being part of the deaf community and deaf culture, and really looking at deaf and hard of hearing people's accomplishments and promoting the idea that there are no limits for our deaf and hard of hearing students and that they can accomplish anything that they set their minds to. So this year, given some of the sort of barriers to getting together in person that are there because of COVID, they are providing an opportunity for deaf and hard of hearing high school students to get together virtually for a job interview program. So they are going to be able to have Renata Rose of Deaf U, if anybody's seen that. She is going to be the celebrity moderator, and students will have the opportunity to participate in a mock job interview experience, and that is happening on March 5th, and it's going to be at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. And so essentially they will have panelists who are going to share job interviewing tips and just takeaways for students to be aware of as they're getting ready to start thinking about work experiences and transition. And it's going to be a really exciting program. So the link to that is actually linked to the icon that you see at the top of this slide. So again, all of you will get the copy of this presentation at the end of the day today, and all of the links for all of the programs that we are sharing with you today are in the presentation, so you will have access to those resources. We would not expect you to just remember this. We want you to be able to take away all of this information. Okay, and the next program that kind of, it's actually almost a hybrid of both a summer program and a career exploration program is the Explore Your Future, or the EYF program at RIT and TID. And this is a short video that will kind of orient you to that program for anybody who might not be familiar with it. Unfortunately, this year it is being held virtually due to COVID, but this will give you a little taste of what happens with this program. It's really exciting, and I could talk a little bit more about some of the logistics involved once we watch the video.
Hundreds of college-bound students from across the country are exploring their futures at RIT. 13 WHAM's Alexis Arnold shows us how the Institute for the Deaf is guiding students toward career goals while sending the message, anything is possible.
It's a typical classroom.
You have 8 samples in your bin.
These students are here to learn.
And now what we're going to make 3 small tiles.
You'll also find laptops and tablets along with captionists to help connect students who are deaf or hard of hearing. It's part of RIT's Explore Your Future summer camp.
I'm hoping to be a game designer.
In piecing together clues from a crime scene, North Chili native Chris Brooks is also learning about problem solving.
Most of them watch CSI, NCIS. They have to wear lab coats and goggles and everything, so they feel like a real scientist.
A former student at RIT, Melissa Skyer, is now teaching students at the school's camp. Her parents are deaf. She lost her hearing at age 25.
Probably the most valuable thing that I think I can share with them is not the content, the science content, but rather how to navigate in a hearing world. So looking back, I can't believe I did some of the stuff I did and how I did it. So I feel like I could share those tips with them.
I definitely think there's an energy and a vibe here.
It was curiosity that brought Maria Caranco from California. In her investigative engineering class, she learned about problem solving through robotics, building a car with Legos.
Since I've been here, I've really discovered I love hands-on experiences. I'm more free to express myself, whether it be through technology or art. This is my first time really working with a technical device, but you know, I'm really discovering I enjoy the robotics aspect of this course.
She'll now leave here with new friends and new interests, and she might be back one day.
You know, this would be my top choice for applying to colleges.
Alexis Arnold, 13 Wham News.
And that week-long camp draws students from as far away as Hawaii. Hundreds of...
Okay, so actually, she's wrong. That week-long camp draws students from as far away as overseas, too. Full disclosure, I'm an NTID alum. So when I was a graduate student there, I was actually one of the people who used to do some of the residence life type stuff for EYF. But it's a really wonderful program. And usually when it's not COVID time, the students do actually travel to NTID. It is for rising juniors and seniors. So folks who are currently in 10th or 11th grade who will be juniors or seniors in high school the following school year. And students are able to explore career areas that are in the arts, business, computer science, engineering, healthcare, information technology, all of the sciences. And as Melissa said in the video, the best part about it is that almost all of the faculty and staff for EYF are deaf and hard of hearing themselves and are actively working in a variety of fields. And then, of course, the students get to meet one another and form friendships. And many of the students end up coming back to NTID, RIT, either for undergraduate, or some of them go to other universities for undergraduate and then come back for graduate school, which is really exciting. But it's a wonderful program for anybody who's not familiar.
Hundreds of...
Okay, there we go. And then NTID also offers another career exploration series that has a series of webinars. And here are all of the different topics that are offered. And part of the exciting part of this is that it does focus again on secondary level students, specifically high school age students in grades 9 through 12. But it's very much an active learning experience. They really look to do more hands-on type projects through these. And when students register, they receive a box of materials and manipulatives to use for each of these webinars. So that's kind of a nice part of this, is that it does provide that sort of kinesthetic learning experience along with the videos and the interactive pieces. So something to think about for your students as well. Okay, and now we come to the topic that is near and dear to my heart, which is virtual field trips. And for any people who are with us today who are at our supervisors retreat back at the beginning of the month, I apologize if some of this information is a repeat for you, but for hopefully most of our folks here, this is going to be new info and some takeaways. So we'll dive right in. So, somebody just asked, is there a charge for Explore Your Future? Yes, there is. And again, all of the links for the programs will be in the presentation, and all of the details for the programs are in the links to the pages. And for many of the high school level programs, because they can be included as part of the transition plan and students are in students' IEPs, depending upon the state that they come from, sometimes VR is able to contribute some of the costs. Sometimes community organizations contribute some of the costs, and then sometimes scholarships are offered by the programs themselves. And then sometimes students also do some fundraising. So it just depends on the situation of the individual student. I know that is the case with EYF. Okay, so moving on to virtual field trips. So first things first, what is a virtual field trip? That's a question that we get asked a lot. And to sort of encapsulate it, virtual field trips are standards aligned. So they are always something that's being done that is going to be aligned with core standards, things that our students need to be learning, they need to know how to do. They have to be measurable. So it's not just something we're kind of pulling out of the air or a cool thing that we want to do, but it's got to be something that has sort of a defined purpose, and then we have a defined outcome, something that we want to be able to measure so we can ensure that the learning that we intended has actually taken place. And they have to be collaborative. So virtual field trips are not planned in isolation. We always want to make sure that we are collaborating with colleagues and with our students and our families and administration to ensure that everybody is sort of rowing the boat in the same direction, so to speak, and we're all on the same page, and making sure that we are identifying opportunities that are going to work well for all of our students, and things that are of high interest to our students, to ensure that it's going to be a meaningful learning opportunity for everybody. Virtual field trips are always planned. They are not spur of the moment or spontaneous. This is not, it's a Thursday afternoon and we don't really have anything to do on Friday afternoon. So, hey, we'll do a virtual field trip. That's really not the way that these are intended to be. It's really supposed to be something that ties into a lot of the other things you've been working on, something that's interdisciplinary and can kind of tie together many of the different concepts and threads and themes that you've been working on with your students. And most importantly, virtual field trips need to be accessible. So that means access both in the sense that we often think of it in the deaf and hard of hearing world, in terms of our students having linguistic access, having auditory access and visual access if those are things that they need. And then certainly also technological access. So, during COVID, it's become very apparent that some of our students do not have the access that they need from home or wherever they may be living, at the present time when they're not in school. So we need to be very mindful of the fact that if we are planning a virtual field trip, that we want all of our students and families to be able to access that. Yes, and and Erin just put into the chat, and I think I had mentioned that, but just to reiterate again, depending on where students live, they can contact, vocational rehabilitation. Here in Pennsylvania, it's Office of Vocational Rehabilitation. It may be called something different in other states, but they can contact them as part of their, transition planning. And sometimes OVR will contribute some of the costs for some of the summer programs that we're talking about. So YLC, like the Youth Leadership Camp, EYF, some of these other summer opportunities that do have costs attached can sometimes be covered or partially covered by fund supports from VR. So that is something to consider. Okay. Okay, who are the affiliators for the virtual field trips? Jen, we'll come back to that in just a minute because we want to get through this first, and then we'll take some more questions at the end. Okay, so what virtual field trips are not? So again, virtual field trips are not just for fun. So it's not just, oh, there's this cool thing that we want to do, so we're kind of making up a reason to do it. They really do need to be connected to the standards and to things that our students need to know and be able to do. They're not something that we don't have clear objectives for, so we need to have clear outcomes defined, and we need to know what it is that we're intending to do through our field trip and what we want our students to know and be able to do at the end of them. They should not be spontaneous. They need to be well planned and well coordinated to ensure that everybody is able to participate and that we've got everything ready for them. They are not planned in isolation. We need to be collaborating with our colleagues, with our students, with our families, and then with administration to ensure that everybody is on the same page. And they are not supposed to be exclusionary. So we do need to ensure that virtual field trips include all of our students, and that includes our students who are deaf and diverse, deaf plus. So if we have students that have additional needs in addition to being deaf and hard of hearing, we have to be making sure that we are thoughtful about how we are accommodating those needs, or if we need to make modifications to some pieces of our virtual field trip, we need to be mindful of that as well. Okay, so another question is, how do activities in the virtual setting differ from a field trip? So activities can be a daily part of virtual learning. Activities may occur in isolation. So for example, an activity might just be something that you plan as part of a lesson, and it might just be a one-off. It might be something that just relates to one topic or one idea that you're working on with your students. And generally, activities are going to be more lesson specific. Whereas virtual field trips typically are going to be more major events that happen in the course of a unit or even over the course of a semester or possibly even a whole year if it's something that's very interdisciplinary. They are planned collaboratively, so they will never happen in isolation. They incorporate usually a series of activities and lessons, and they can probably take place over time, although it's not unheard of to do a virtual field trip in a day. But the nice thing about the virtual setting that's actually a benefit is that you can do them over time. So it doesn't have to be time limited and only happening, within an afternoon or a day. And usually virtual field trips will involve outside resources. So we're going to talk a little bit about what some of those resources are, and you are going to get a HyperDoc at the end of today that has a list of lots of resources that you can be looking at to help plan your virtual field trips. And a really good thing to note is that many of the resources that are available are free. They're either funded by the federal government or they are funded by nonprofits and foundations. But that being said, because of the fact that they are, free of charge, many times you have to make arrangements to have a time slot for some of these experiences, especially if they involve like a live virtual tour guide or a live docent or a live presentation. So it's important to start planning very early to make sure that you can get on the list for some of these experiences. Okay. So planning considerations when we are looking at virtual field trips. We want to make sure again that there is a content alignment. We have to make sure that it's coming from our standards, that it's coming from our curriculum. We need to identify what is it that we want our students to know and be able to do, and then how are we going to measure that? We have to have a way of collecting data and having a way to reflect that our students actually have learned what we wanted them to and that the learning has taken place. Collaboration, we don't do this in isolation. We want to make sure that our students have a voice in what we are planning, because again, they are the primary stakeholders in their own education. And then next to them, the next most important stakeholders are the families. So we want to make sure that they are also involved in planning whenever possible. We want to ensure that we are being collaborative with all of our staff members. So for any of you who may be working either in classroom programs or in itinerant settings, this is a great time to be that value added piece to your colleagues who might be working in general education, to kind of show up and be that person who's knowledgeable about what's going to work well for our students, because chances are if it works well for our students, it may work well for many other students. So, we really can be that value added piece for folks. We definitely don't want it to be when, as I know this has happened to me many times, I'm sure it's happened to many of you, that well-meaning colleagues in gen ed will plan things and then at the 11th hour, they realize that, oh, wait, that's actually not accessible for our deaf and hard of hearing students or for some of our other students with other types of needs. And they're kind of trying to tack us on at the end or make it accessible, and it doesn't really work well. So we really need to be, in the primary phase of planning and leading that from the beginning whenever we can. Again, starting early is so key. Time is always of the essence. It's the true currency. We know that there's never enough of it. They're never going to be making any more of it. And I really encourage people, whenever they find an opportunity that they have interest in and their students may be interested in, even if it's virtual now, and we know that we are hoping that everybody is going to be back in person for next school year, but if it's a virtual opportunity that you're interested in for next school year, reserve it now. It can't hurt. What's the worst that can happen? You have a great virtual opportunity, and then hopefully you have some opportunities for some wonderful in-person things as well for next year. And then again, the access piece is so critical, both in the sense that we always think of it for our students, but then also for our families, to ensure that anything we are planning that is virtual is something that they will have access to as well, and that we are leaving ourselves enough time to think creatively about how we can involve and enfranchise families who may not have ready access on a day-to-day basis, so that we can see what we can be doing to support to help get that access established, to be able to include people. And then finally, the modifications piece. Again, this is really where it comes in for our students who may be deaf and diverse, deaf plus our students with deaf blindness. We want to make sure that we are thinking through how is this going to be a meaningful activity with students for different levels of needs, so that we can be differentiating instruction and planning for those students. Okay. So I am going to click over to this document. This is the takeaway document that you'll have that comes as kind of a separate companion piece to the presentation today. And we're not going to go through every single link on here, but I just want to be able to show you a taste of what is involved with this. And it's a series of resources. And again, this is by no means an exhaustive list, but these are just kind of a curated series of resources that are a great jumping off point. If you are thinking about planning a virtual field trip for your students or your program, this will be a really good sort of place to start from. So when you click this, you are going to get this message, which is asking you to make a copy. That is so nobody can edit the original. And you will go ahead and click on this, and it will make you a copy. So the good news is you did not need to take any notes on anything I just said, because you now have all of the considerations and everything we just talked about here in a checklist format for when you are planning your virtual field trip. And then if you scroll down, you have this document. So essentially, this is going to be a series right here on the left-hand side. And this curated list has been pulled from different curriculum areas. So it covers the arts, science, literature, history, social studies, and can be used at a variety of different grade levels. One thing that I just want to point out, and I'm sure many of you are already aware of this, but if you are not, this is one of the, I think, best kept secrets when just in general, but also when planning virtual field trips. The Described and Captioned Media program is something that is available free of charge to any teacher and also to any family. So if you sign up for the DCMP, and the link is right here, this is what you get when you go to their media library. And as you can see, they have this arranged by just a variety of topics. And whenever you click into any of these, it will give you just a list of videos, and just all of these items are accessible. So for example, if we want to click on language arts, it then breaks it down even further into all of these different areas. And we can click on literacy. And, here's all these different videos. Many of them are closed captioned. Some of them are going to be signed. And they actually have, if you go back, there is literature. And let's say if we pick Dr. Seuss, they break it down into grade levels. And again, you can click through all of these, but many of these are signed and then also include captions. Some of them are just captioned, but it's really just a treasure trove of so many different videos and materials. And again, all of these are accessible. So this is a free resource. It's dcmp.org. It's the Described and Captioned Media program. You will need to sign up for it, but again, it's a free resource. So you sign up as a teacher teacher or as a family member or as a professional, and you will have access to this. And again, the links to all of this is in the HyperDoc that I just showed. So this document that you will all have access to, you will have access to this at the end of the presentation so that you'll be able to explore this yourself. Again, another area where I personally think it's really amazing, some of the things they've done, if you click on NASA's Commercial Crew Virtual Reality Tour, all of these videos put you in the virtual reality space so you can see what the tour guide is seeing, and you can also see their narration captioned in real time. So that's pretty amazing, and it will take you through everything that they do to get ready for commercial space flights at NASA. But all of these different things can be used to essentially plan a field trip for your students. And we kind of created this sheet so that you can make your own notes in it, because again, you'll be creating a copy of this for your own use. So feel free to use it how you will. But you can go through all of this, and then certainly feel free to add more as you find things that you want to be able to use. But again, these are some really good jumping off points for when you want to plan virtual field trips for your students. But I can't say enough about, if there is a field trip that does not exist that you are dreaming of, that you would love to make for your students, look at the DCMP website first to see if there are things that you can put together from there, and then take a look at some of the other resources to see what you can build, because there's just some really great things that are available. All righty. So that's pretty much the end of our presentation. So do we have any questions? And you are welcome to put them in the chat or the Q&A, but I mean, we can see the chat pretty easily. And yep, we are going to put the link and the code for today's survey into the chat. So we're going to be putting that there now. Do we have any other questions? And again, you will have, Jen and I, our contact information is right there on the last slide of the presentation. Yep, there's the code. It's HE02. And hang on one second, and I can give you the survey link again, just in case anybody needs it. Okay, and there is the link for today's survey for anybody who may need that as well. And the exit code again is HE02. Yep, Brian, the link to the survey is there. It was just put in. It's the one that begins with forms. And there's a question, can parents from Philadelphia attend Pittsburgh sessions? I'm assuming that's for UPMC's Hearing Center. My understanding, and Jen, feel free to jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, is that anybody is welcome. Brian, you're going to have access to the entire presentation. So what we're going to do is hang on one second, and I will stop sharing my screen, and I will put the link to the presentation for all of you guys. Hang on one second. Okay, and there is the link to today's presentation. So hopefully now you all have access to that. Yep, just checking back over the chat to make sure we didn't miss anything. And you are so very welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate you taking the time to be here. We know it's hard at the end of the day. But again, if you have any other questions that you think of, or if you need help with anything, please let us know. You've got our contact info, and we're always happy to help you. And again, I'm just putting it one more time in the chat for anybody who needs it. Here's the link to our materials from today.
I wanted to say thank you to our interpreter and our
Oh, yes. Thank you so much to our
great job.
interpreter and our captionist. We really appreciate it, and we appreciate your patience as we worked out all of our kinks with our technology. It's always a little bit different when you go from using a Zoom meeting license to a Zoom webinar license, but luckily we seem to have figured that out, and we thank all of our attendees who were kind enough to give us feedback. That was very helpful. Yes, and that's great feedback, Stephanie. For anybody who's having difficulty getting the copy of the presentation, you may just need to wait for a moment. It will take a minute to copy the presentation simply because it does have the media links embedded and the videos, and that will take a moment to copy. So you will have to click on make a copy, and then it may take your computer just a moment to download that. But you should be able to get a copy. And if for any reason you cannot, please let us know, and we'll be happy to get it to you in another way. And I see 2 hands up in the attendees list, Marcia and Stephanie. Do you need help, ladies? Is there something we can do to assist? Oh, okay. Don't feel bad, Marcia. That's happened to me before when I click on things and suddenly things just keep going up or down.
Story of our life.
So true. All righty, folks. Well, again, thank you so much for joining us. We hope you've gotten something out of our Hour with the Expert this evening. And our next installment will be in March. And the topic for that one, I believe, is going to be, I think it's keeping it fresh with ASL. Sue-Ann, is that the topic for March?
It is actually, this is Sue-Ann. It is actually the transition Hour with the Expert next.
Oh, I apologize. Yeah. So next is transition, but keeping it fresh with ASL is going to be coming. So that's upcoming in the spring.
That's in April. So we're not going to do it yet because then it won't be fresh.
There you go. Yeah, it won't be fresh in March, but it will be fresh in April.